popped in and said, "Where is everybody?" The answer is
Yeah,
we're
we're
here.
here.
I can't. There's 8 of you here already. I am impressed. You managed to find us that quickly. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it'll actually. Melvia, I see you here. You're in there. We're just going to give people a second so they can pop on. We're going to have lots of interesting, like disjointed lives to listen to as we go through. I'm just hoping that the sound is okay this time. So
Yeah, there's
anyone?
something definitely a bit strange about it, because when I first came, I was late by a couple of minutes, right? But I was
Yeah,
sitting there waiting for it to say it was going live, and I could join, and it didn't. So I just thought
yeah,
I'd try it, and
yeah.
I didn't. So there's something quite much better now, better sound, excellent. Oh, that's good.
Good,
That's
good, good,
good.
good. All right, we are ready to go. All right, anyone who only half heard the story so far, I apologize, but just a little spoiler alert: we were talking about short rows.
Surprise, surprise.
um, and I was just talking about this, and we were going to get into kind of where this came from, where the idea came from. And like, I mean, I love the fact that like the first idea of this was the elemental
Yeah,
book.
these.
Yeah, which was and like bizarrely was actually the two of us combined as well, because it was a yarn that I did for love knitting
Yeah,
for it was Bloomsbury DK,
yeah.
and you did the book using the yarn.
I did. I did. I've got all the hats here as well. So come
Lovely.
on, name the colorways, Carol. Which one's
Oh my
which?
god. That's not happening, sorry. I can't even remember the colors that I deal with on a daily basis, I'm afraid. Oh,
Yeah, that's tough. That is now my still. This was published in 2017, the Elemental Collection, and this is still my best-selling ebook and my best-selling hat by a long shot. Yeah,
yeah, it's
it is.
gorgeous. It just turned out so well, and like, and the colors, if I do say so myself, just enhance the whole
Yeah.
project. But
So yeah.
it's gorgeous, and I remember you talking with your about the talks you had with your tech editor at the time on how to actually put it together, and the fact that you were going with a fully charted book on this, which was quite a departure for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually since had the written instructions added to it now as an ebook. All the single patterns in the ebook have got it, the written as well as the charted. But it was because, I mean, short rows, I mean, love them as much as they do. They're really hard to chart, but they take up even more space as written instructions, and they
Mhm.
bring in so much opportunity for error, basically. And that's
Yeah,
what I wanted to go with chart only for this,
yeah,
because it's all short rows, and I wanted to make sure that they were as correct as I could be. But what I did was when I was working on this, because I realized that regular chart symbols weren't going to work because I don't know, I needed to keep it simplified.
mhm,
So I called them maps, which is what they're called in the book. That's what I've called them since when I work on anything. And they are just arrows that tell you which way you're knitting. So you don't have to worry about whether you're on the right side or the wrong side, etc. You just kind of go, am I going that way or that way? And you can use a yarn tail or a stitch marker and just think about, am I working towards that? Am I working away from that? And it's all garter stitch and short rows. And
yeah,
when I first put these charts out, there were a few people on the forums that were just kind of like, what is this? You know, I can't get my head around it, because it's like, why did you invent a new charting method? I'm like, I'm sorry. But then once people tried it, they were kind of like, this is actually way more logical and much
yeah,
simpler, because you don't have to think about what it looks like on the right side or the wrong side. You don't have to worry about what, you know, the chart symbols means. It's just a map, literally. You're
yeah,
knitting this way and that way and this way and that way.
yeah,
And then I've had people that have been lifelong chart haters, people that cannot work from charts, that have gone ahead and used the maps because there's no extra thinking to it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just directional, just go this way or that way, and that's it. And it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, you just kind of like follow the arrows. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the fact that it's garter stitch means that it does work, because you've got no different stitch patterns. So the right
Mm,
and the wrong are going to be worked the very same way. And the German short rows, the fact that the
mm.
technique you're using is identical on each side as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does help it. So, and so that led on. So what? How does the book, the big book with Soho Publishing get started? Because that is also a departure for you, that you have self published everything. So this is the first one that you've done with the publisher. Like, what was it that made you go, yeah, this is a really good project to do with an outside publisher?
Well, basically, this isn't the first one I've done with an outside publisher. I've
Oh,
actually
sorry,
had
you're
a
right. Beg your
yeah,
pardon.
there's a
Yes,
collection of
yes.
hat patterns, but they were kind of like mostly already existing hat patterns.
Yeah, yeah.
This was the first big project where everything was from scratch and was not a hat pattern book as well, which
Yeah.
is kind of like one of
Yeah.
the significant things I think about it.
Mhm.
My phone's just gone into dark mode because it's 6 o'clock and it thinks I need to go to bed. So I'm hoping that I'm still in full Technicolor here.
Yes, we can see you.
um, they contacted me and said, um, would you like to do this book? Would you like to work with us? And I sat there and thought about it, well, yeah, actually, I would.
Mhm.
I'd really, really like to, because it's something. There are other ways of creating color work with short rows. This particular way is something that I'd spent a lot of time developing
Mhm.
because I needed to combine short rows for shaping as well as the color work. So I had to think about how I was using the short rows differently, and that's what
Yeah.
makes it different from other
Yeah.
like swing knitting. It's a different technique, for instance.
Mhm.
Still using short rows, but it does them in a different way. And the reason
Yeah.
why I had to kind of like develop the technique myself is because working sideways, um, using the short rows for the crown shaping, I had to manipulate the short rows and think about where they were going rather than using a more organic method that followed the short rows. That didn't work for
Mhm.
hats. It didn't work for a flat crown. So that's where I all kind of like got started. And I really wanted to kind of explore that, and the idea of building a stitch dictionary and getting the maps out there as a kind of like, it felt like
Yeah.
that felt really
Yeah.
exciting. It's like, woohoo, new standard kind of like
Yeah.
charting
But it
technique.
really
You know,
gives
so
you ownership over the technique as well. It's
yeah,
like you put your
yeah.
stamp on it, and
Yeah,
the way you put
that
it.
felt, I will say that did my ego some good,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And but I mean, it's beautifully laid out, and it's very interesting to see the technique being pulled into all of the different projects, because of course you've only done hats, so it's like, oh look, you can use it for all of these different things.
Exactly, and that was one of the other interesting things about the book, because I knew as soon as we were talking about it with the publisher, with my editor, I knew that we'd have to have guest designers. I said, because look, I'm only going to design hats. I mean,
Yeah.
the book's going to need shawls and scarves and cowls, but I am not going to design them because
Yeah.
you know I am that set in my ways. And so it's one of the first times. I don't know if it is the first time. It's one of the first times that a technique book that has been authored by somebody that's developed the technique has not designed all the patterns in them themselves.
Mm.
So bringing in guest designers was something new, and that was something we had to talk about, and that kind of like, you know, threw up a few kind of like logistical problems like contracts and other little bits and
Yeah.
pieces, but it
Yeah.
all worked out. But one of the things, I mean, obviously you'll know because you were part of the book, but I had to set some rules around how which techniques we used outside of the basic short row color work and things.
Mhm.
And I need to set some guidelines, because when one designer or author writes a technique book in particular, um, they will have their own consistency because they will follow their own kind of like way of working. So I
Mhm.
needed to kind of like bring all of that in and have
Mhm.
all of the guest designers at least working on roughly on the same page to
Yeah.
maintain that consistency. Because
Yeah.
you know yourself, you've published books with a range of designers trying to bring it all
Mhm.
in and make it feel cohesive is
Well, particularly like
harder
any
than. think.
It's
Yeah,
very difficult, and particularly I find that anyone who has taken patterns from you are going to expect a particular type of style, and
yeah,
so to actually to streamline things so that they all follow same techniques but also the same way of writing it is
yes,
it's one of the biggest challenges of pulling
yeah,
collections together. I think
it is.
it's
It is. Yeah,
and you
yeah,
usually don't realize it until halfway through of like, oh wait, we need to put this into, and we because some of the things don't become visible until you're working on them, and then it's like, hang on.
yeah. I mean, we thought we've got most thing covered because my tech extra has worked on a number of magazines. So she was like, from the very beginning, it was like, style sheet, we're doing it this way, and we had quite a bit of freedom with that from the publisher. We didn't have to follow theirs too closely. We were able to do it, which was good because we're working with something
Yeah,
different here that they hadn't published before. And we thought we've got everything covered. But even then, there were kind of like things came up during the process, which just kind of threw us a bit. And I actually think, considering all of us were working, I mean, you were all designing the patterns while I was still writing the Stitch Dictionary, while I was still writing the tutorials. I mean, it was intense,
yeah,
and there were
yeah,
several people. Because I invited people that who are known for their use of colour or unusual construction method, or those people that already work with short rows. I really wanted to, because it's a, you can go in a multi-directional kind of like knitting with this, especially with the guard stitch and everything. But there were some people that hadn't done short row colourwork before, so I was having to teach them the principles of the technique. Why I'm writing the stitch dictionary? Why
yeah.
everybody's designing it all? It was intense. But we pulled it off. We
Yeah,
pulled it off.
yeah,
We
no,
did it.
it
We did a
turned
good
out
job.
really well. It sounds like our sound is breaking up again, so we should probably,
Oh
we might
no.
just maybe just talk very briefly about the retreat and kind of wrap it up, I think, because I suspect it's the tech side of things is against us today.
It does
So
seem to be, yeah.
yeah, we just want to finish up by saying that there's a virtual retreat that Wooly is doing with Vogue Live, and I'll be one of the guest designers. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a combination of things. It's all about, I mean, it's based around this book, but it's
Mhm.
also got a little bit of Italy going on. So, I mean,
Definitely. Yes. Yes. It kind of evolved like that. It's Vogue Knitting's first ever virtual retreat as well. So it's kind of like that's quite exciting.
yeah,
But yeah, there's going to be lots of all the goodie bags are all Italian hand dyers, for instance. So you're going to get something a little bit different, some new dyers. There's going to be talks about Italian food, and we've got an alpaca farm down the road, and we're doing a guided tour of the alpaca farm as
oh, wow.
well. So yeah, there's going to be an awful lot going on that weekend. It's the 27th to 28th September.
Mhm.
So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
going to be really
the
exciting.
registration is open until the end of this month, I think, is it?
If you want to get the full amount of the goodie
Yeah,
bags,
yeah.
yes, because obviously the yarn's been dyed in Italy, it's been shipped to the US, and it's going to be shipped out again. So there's those logistics to incorporate. So if you definitely want the yarn in your goodie bag, sign up by the end of June.
Yeah.
Then
Melvia wants to know the name of the book again. I'll hold it up here. You've got Short Row Knitting. It is as it sounds, Short Row Knitting. Just look up Woolly Wormhead, you'll find it.
yeah,
Have you got a
short row
preference for
colourwork
where
knitting.
people
There you
buy
go.
it, Knit? Where's the best place for people to buy it?
Um, Wherever the most easiest for you.
Okay.
Basically, I've got a page for it on my website. If you want to buy it on Amazon, that's fine. If you want to go to your local yarn shop and order it in, that's absolutely fine too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is widely available.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is good. I know that when it came out, first of all, there was such a big rush on it that like the first run sold out really quickly, and so you ended up with, which is great.
It kind of like it had already gone into its second print run before it was actually even published.
Which is, I don't like it's a double thing because part of it is they're always hedging their bets, so they've obviously underestimated how much that first print run should do. But go short rows, go Woolly.
Yeah, yeah. And the question has come up. No, there isn't a digital version. Soho Publishing, who are the book branch of Bone Knitting, they are print publishers only. Um, The rights to the patterns will revert back to designers in about a year or so. So any individual patterns may be available after that, but the book itself is print only. Yeah.
Which for this actually works quite well, because I think that it's a very tactile thing, with particularly looking through the maps and being, I think it works well as a physical object.
Don't be more nervous as Shore Rose. I'm sorry.
Don't be nervous, Short Rose. They're fine.
Just start with
just one color and move on. And
exactly. I mean, that's the really important point actually about short row Colourwork. You are only working with one color at a time. There is no carrying the yarn across the back. You might have a little float sometimes that you need to carry upwards to make sure that you don't want to keep breaking your yarn and rejoining it. But you're only working with one yarn at a time, one color at a time.
I actually think that you can't go too far wrong, because it doesn't change the number of stitches. At most, maybe you have an extra row somewhere, but unless you do it,
it's not going to shrink it. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
It's quite forgiving, and it looks very dramatically beautiful or subtle. I've seen ones with very light color differences where it's very subtle, so you can go kind of as mad or as subtle as you want with it, really.
I've seen this hat toff. I've seen it knitted in a single skein of variegated yarn, and you can still see the pattern, because the short rows are doing all the heavy lifting. The short rows are making the pattern, and the yarn kind of like comes along to play. It's not, I've seen it mill-dyed, in subtle, very tonal. It all works. It loves. The only thing it doesn't like is speckled yarn, because then you can't see the short rows as well. Yeah. But just about every yarn will work with it, because the short rows are doing all the heavy lifting. They are.
You've reassured Deirdre. One color at a time sounds better.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Wooly. Is there anything else that you would like to finish up with that you want people to know about the book or the retreat as a parting message?
Go and have a look at the website for the retreat, do. And also I've got, because there's a lot going on, there's so much, and it's going to be really, really exciting. We've got Paola talking about shawl design with the motifs, and we've got Justina's doing a one on Colourwork class and matching colours up. There's so much going on. Yeah. And then there's on my website, you can go and find more information. I've got a lot of tutorials on my website, and I'm building my YouTube channel where that'll have more tutorials about short row Colourwork as well. So if there's anything you're not sure about, I've got articles about the maps and all sorts. There's lots there. You can go and have a look.
Wendy was saying, can you show some more of your hats before you go?
Sure. This is another one from Elemental. This is Katara. This is another thing that I like with the short row Colourwork, is that it doesn't have to all be those organic leaf-like forms that people think of when they think about making short row Colourwork patterns. This is just stripes, but the short row forms in the background are pushing and pulling the lines, and making it wave around.
Like a sea, like a little sea plants or something, like it's waving in the ocean. You can really see from this first set of hats the development of where the ideas came from for the book. Like it's like the starting blocks are very visible. Yeah,
and this is Azula. So all that flames there that are done, and so it's knit that way around. So you work the panels up.
Yeah, and you can see this. There's two lots of short rows. You got the short rows for the Colourwork, and then you've got short rows for the crown as well. Yeah. Is there any brim short rows in that, or is it just the?
They do have, but they've been on my head rather a lot, so they're kind of stretched out just a little bit.
But they're there. They're there. So the short rows are doing three different jobs in that, basically.
Yes, they are. They're doing the brim shaping, they're doing the crown shaping, and they're doing the Colourwork.
Yeah. Which does make it sound more complicated than it is. You just follow the map and you're all good.
Yeah, just follow the map. That's it. Yeah, it does it all for you. Tell you what to do.
Yeah. I'm just going to, nobody can really see it here, but this is what the maps look like. This is kind of a general idea of what the maps look like, where you can just follow the directions and the arrows back and forth to show you as you're working. So it's like it's a knitting maze, but that goes in one direction.
Yeah, there are some simpler ones as well in there, for people to give a try on some
Yeah.
simpler motifs to get a taste of it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't.
And it is, I mean, I found it very intuitive and I had fun kind of combining a couple of different ones in. And I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to swatching up for the class that I'm doing for September as
yeah,
well, where I'll be showing how you can use them in garments and ways where if the rest of it doesn't have garter stitch, or you just want to introduce a little short row motif somewhere, how you go about doing that and things to think about. So I'm going to start playing with that soon too.
yeah. Just the digits that are getting lost using Google Maps. This is a lot simpler. It's just on paper, all right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you very much, Wooly. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you for
talking
having me,
with you
Carol.
again.
It's good to see you again. We
You
haven't
too.
seen you in such a long time.
I'll appear over in Italy and you do one of these days. I'm like, hi, I'm here for some
Yeah,
sunshine.
we all have space now. You can come stay.
You never regret saying that.
No. We've got spare bedrooms. You can come over.
Oh, that would be fun. But lovely to see you virtually, even if it's a while before I land over there.
All right.
Bye.
You take care.